Hello, this is video part B of literal equations. So this is just all more examples for you to help get a better feel for these literal equations and make sure you're understanding them very well, because not all of them are going to look exactly the same. So here we go. I'm going to start with my line. We're trying to solve this for B. Now this is actually going to come up because we're going to solve for B later on in the school year. And we want to do our order of operations to B. Excuse me. Well, what we're doing to B is we're adding mx. How do I know that? I could rewrite this equation by saying B first plus mx, because this is positive. Okay, the order doesn't matter as long as you keep the sign. So we can undo that plus mx with minus mx, because remember those are together, because they're multiplied together. So minus mx on this right side, I'm going to do minus mx on the left side. So we get y minus mx. Those are not like terms. We have b, and then you have mx minus mx. That cancels each other out, and you get nothing left over. b equals y minus mx, all done. Next, we're trying to solve for y. Again, this is an actual situation that's going to come up later on in the year, so we're solving for y. So what are we doing by the order of operations to y? Well, first we're multiplying y times b, and that's where we have our multiplication. Then, we don't have any division, we're adding ax. So we'll undo that in our order backwards. So minus ax and divide by b. Those are the inverse operations, and we go backwards. So I'm going to subtract ax from the left side, which means I need to subtract ax from the right side to balance my equation. So ax minus ax, that cancels out. We're left with b times y, or just by. We don't have to write the times. We have c minus ax. Okay, so that step was done. Now we're going to go to our divide by b. If I divide this side by b, I have to divide the entire left or right side by b as well. You're not dividing c by b, you're not dividing ax by b, you're dividing all of it by b, and that's how we write it. So these cancel. We have y equals c minus ax, all divided by b. Okay? We're going to solve this for r. Now, a little tricky, we didn't talk too much about getting r by itself. So, by the order of operations, if we're looking on r, we don't have parentheses. We do have an exponent, though. We have r squared. So, I'm going to write r squared in there, just so that we remember. And then, we're multiplying by 4 and pi. So we're multiplying by 4 pi, so that means we're going to divide by 4 pi later on. Okay, we don't have any addition and subtraction, we're all done. So to undo times, we're going to divide. So we're going to divide by 4 pi. Then with r squared, we're going to do the opposite of squaring, which is square rooting. We're going to square root both sides. Now, we haven't really talked about this that much. So I'm going to throw this out there right now. We're going to take the positive and the negative square root. And again, we're not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So if we divide both sides by 4 pi, we have a divided by 4 pi equals, well, 4 divided by 4, that cancels. Pi divided by pi, that cancels. We're left with r squared. Changing colors. Then we're going to take the positive and negative square root of both sides. Okay, so what we're left with is plus and minus square root of a divided by 4 pi equals. Then we're just left with r. For now, that's as much as I want to talk about that, because that square root's a little tricky. Moving on. We're trying to solve this for c. So we're going to look at the order of operations on c. Well, remember, we have an invisible parenthesis. So what this means is we got to deal with this minus on c, we got to do all that stuff in the top and then divided by n. So inside the parentheses, we are multiplying c by this negative. Then we are adding r, and then we are dividing by n after we deal with, that was the parentheses. These two steps were the parentheses, and then the divide by n was next. So instead of dividing by n, we're going to multiply by n first. Then we're going to subtract r, and then we're going to undo this negative. So we undo the negative by, I'm just going to say we're going to multiply by a negative. We didn't talk about it that much. I wish we would have. Maybe something, we'll go back a little and show you some examples of this negative and undoing it. That's our fault. Okay, so we're going to multiply the left and right sides times n times n. So p times n is p times n, or just pn if you want. N divided by n and multiplied by n cancel each other out, so we're left with r minus c. Then we need to subtract r. So I'm going to subtract r from this side, which means I'm going to subtract r from this side. So pn, remember I don't want to write that times every time, minus r equals, well, r minus r is just 0. We still have negative c. That's the tricky part. So if I'm going to multiply this times negative 1, let me get a different color, times negative 1, well, we're going to multiply everything times negative 1. So negative c times negative 1 is now positive c. And then we have all of these sign changes. So literally all we did was this minus turned into a plus, this plus turned into a minus, and this minus turns into a plus. All we're doing is changing every sign. So we got minus pn plus r. Okay, I'll probably have to show you guys some more of that because it's pretty tricky. I'll probably look at it in 2 different ways and see how we do with that. Okay, we're going to solve this first. Little a. Notice how little a is different than capital A. Lowercase a and capital A are different variables. So order of operations to a. Well, what's happening is all of this stuff is happening first, because that is the invisible parentheses. There we go. So what we're doing to a is we're adding b to a, we're adding c to a, and then we're done with our parentheses, no exponents, no multiplication. In division, we're dividing by 3. So then we're going to undo all that. So we're going to multiply by 3 first, we're going to subtract c, and then we're going to subtract b in that order. So multiplied by 3. If I multiply by 3 on the right, I need to multiply by 3 on the left. I got to do the same thing to both sides. So a times 3 is 3a. Then we've got dividing by 3 and multiplying by 3 canceling out. So we're left with this a plus b plus c. Then that step is done. We can move on to the next step. So we're going to subtract c from both sides. So 3a minus c, those cannot be combined. We've got a plus b. C minus c is 0. And one more step. Right, we did that. So now I need to subtract b from both sides. So 3a minus c minus b equals a, and then b minus b is just 0, that cancels, so then we're good. Done. And finally, I believe this is the last one. Yeah, it is. 12. We're trying to solve for y. So we see this y in here. We've got invisible parentheses in the numerator right here. So we're going to have to deal with all of that stuff first. So inside my parentheses, I have multiplication and subtraction. So what we would do to y is we would multiply by 2 first. Then we would subtract z. And that's why I always put a line through my z's so my 2's and my z's look different. Then we would divide by 4. So to undo all that, we would work our way back up, times 4, so I'm going to do that first, times 4 on this side of the equal sign, times 4 on this side of the equal sign. So we get 4 times x equals 2y minus z. Then we did that part, so now instead of subtracting z, we're going to add z. So plus z plus z. 4x plus z equals 2y, and then we've got negative z and a positive z, so when we put those together they cancel. And finally, instead of multiplying by 2, we're going to divide by 2. So divide by 2, and we divide everything by 2. Everything. So 4x plus 2, all of that divided by 2 equals 2 divided by 2 is 1, so we're just left with y. Okay? All of that is done. I know that's kind of tricky and it looks scary. Just remember, you follow your rules just the way you do everything else. Reading the problem is the hardest part. Once we get this table done, you're usually pretty good. So make sure you're checking the table and we'll help you out as you go. Okay? Good luck. Ask for help. Make sure you understand. Test is coming up soon. We only got one more topic.